welcome everyone to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts in the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. Once a week, I take a book off of our shelves, sometimes two, as in this case, or more even, and we just do a show and tell. If you have been here before, welcome back. It's always great to see old friends. And if you're new, welcome. And I'm very glad you're here. As we go, please feel free to type questions in the chat and I will answer them as I can. My colleague Amy Hutchins is here as well. Amy is our manuscripts cataloging librarian. She is incredibly knowledgeable about this collection and manuscripts in general. She'll also answer your questions. And we actually have a special guest today. Priya Namrath is here. She is a PhD candidate in South Asia Studies, and she studies medieval mathematics. And a couple of years ago, she took, actually probably more than a couple of years ago now, she took a summer paleography class that Amy used to teach. And for that class, she studied these two manuscripts. And so she knows a lot about them, and she is going to share her knowledge with us as we go through. So I'm going to start as normal, and if Priya starts interrupting, that's great. So I'm really glad that she's here. I'm glad you're all here. So let's get started. I'm actually starting with LJS 188. But let me take a step back, actually, because the reason that we're looking at these two manuscripts together is not only because they are both astronomical manuscripts that are written in English circa 1540. The reason that they are both astronomical manuscripts written in English circa 1540 is because they are both part of what was once one manuscript. So it was a larger manuscript. It was at some point broken into 4 pieces, and we happen to have 2 of the pieces here. And then the other pieces are, where are the other ones? One of them was purchased by Shozo Asahara in Japan after 1988. And that part is the first part of the manuscript. It includes a copy of Chaucer's treatise on the astrolabe. So that's actually a very exciting portion of the manuscript, which we don't have. And then the fourth part, the current location is unknown. It is owned by a private owner who does not share that fact. So it's not lost, we just don't know where it is. But we have 2 of them. So we can start looking at them. And incidentally, yes, please. Oh, okay. All right, we should update the record because I'm going by information in the record. So good. So it's not unknown. It's not with a private. Forget what I said. It's at the Huntington Library. So that's very cool. And I guess the other part is still in, as far as we know, is it in Japan? Still? Priya, do we know? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. And Amy I was misreading the record. Okay. The 4th part is in the Huntington. I'm sorry. It was in 2 different, that information is in 2 different parts of the record, so I was looking at 2 different places. Okay, I apologize for the confusion. All right, so it's currently unknown. The 4th part is at the Huntington. Okay, so let's look at it. So this is the second part of that parent manuscript. And the text is the instruction of the ephemerides. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically, there are these tables that are used to calculate the locations, basically astronomical tables giving the positions of planets, the sun, and the moon over time. And so this is the instructions on how to read them. You can see immediately that if you read English, you can read this, which is really nice, because a lot of times the manuscripts we look at are not in English. So it's hard for English people who read English to read them. But we can get up close. So the first part, this is obviously not the first part of the whole manuscript. It's the first part of the instruction of the ephemeridae, right? And so we're starting here in the beginning, not the Bible, but in the beginning of the instructions. So the script here is a secretary script. It is a little bit messy, or not that, but these are nice. And I like the little bit of decoration in the initials here. So this is not a fancy manuscript. It's not supposed to be fancy, but there's a little room for, if not illumination, there's some decoration around here and also up here around the T. So here we go. It's mostly written in this sort of dark brown ink. There is ruling, at least there's a framing. So it's in ink, so you can see someone laid out the page to say here's where the text should go. The scribe took it under advisement, I think. So they actually wrote on top of the top line, which is kind of interesting because I would expect to see it under the top line. And then the right hand, while they did use the left hand line as a guide, so it starts right there, they did not worry too much about going over the line. So this was not, the scribe was not concerned with making a beautiful, even page. It's really like, let's get the information down. Some things I'm noticing, there is a little bit of this red lines that are through capital letters. And this is kind of interesting because it reminds me of a lot of other manuscripts we look at that are a little fancier. There's a lot of the sort of alternating red and blue initials. And I feel like this is doing something similar in that it's here is the start. We're starting off a sentence or maybe starting out a phrase, right? So we can look to those red lines and say, oh, something is starting here. I'm also seeing here a little fixing. It looks like somebody forgot a word, and so he came back and added the word in there. At the bottom of the page, on every page so far, there's little catchwords. This is kind of interesting because I would normally expect to see catchwords at the end of a quire as a sort of scribal message to the bookbinder to that here's the order for doing it, to make sure the quires are bound in order. But here, this is the first leaf in the page. In fact, there's here, and so what this is doing, I think, DAYB. Yeah, here we go. It's the first word or two on the next line, and we'll see it here too. We have and up here, and then let's see, something by, let's see if we can recognize that by. Yeah, so I don't know, this is late, so this is late for me. So this is 1540, so well into the 16th century. I don't know, and maybe Amy or someone else knows, if this is sort of taking the aesthetic of the catchword and putting it into some other context, because clearly it's not for the binder. This is some other thing that's happening. If it even serves a purpose, I don't know. But I think it's cool what else is cool, because this is an astronomical manuscript, we are going to see some of these characters that are symbols of the zodiac. So we'll see those as we sort of go through. Yes, Taurus, and I don't know, Linda, if you recognize all of these, but there's another one. Is that Pisces? Pisces, I was right. I like that. Very cool. So they're coming through here. So let me zoom out. We've got a nice look at the script. So we'll zoom out here. I am also noticing that the framing that we had on the first page, it wasn't even on the first page, was it? We had framing here, and now it's gone. There's no more framing. I'm going to be curious to see if this shows up again. So we'll keep going. It looks like we've got more of these. These aren't, I don't think these are zodiac marks. I'm not sure what these are, but some sort of noticing. And because, let's see, we have headers. Yep. All right. Oh, here we go. So here is a table that if we were reading the instructions, here is a table that we could practice on. And again, I do not possess the knowledge to be able to read these, which is too bad. We actually have multiple manuscripts in our collection that have a lot of these. And I find them fascinating as sort of data tools that people who lacked computers were able to come up with these systems for tracking the movement of the planets and the moon. I think that's so interesting, especially before people knew that everything moved around the sun as opposed to everything moving around the Earth, right? It makes astronomy pretty interesting in that case. So here we go. I will, we'll look a little bit, and I don't want to forget the other manuscript, so then we'll move on and look at the other one. So here is another table. The table of, it looks like the latitude of the moon. So if you need to know the latitude of the moon, you can use this table to figure it out. And I don't know, septeminal, and I don't know. I can read the words and I don't know what they mean because I don't speak the astronomical language, but it's very cool. Here we have spaces that were left for capital letters. So if I go back, we have, and I didn't notice this, but the letter was put in, but there's no decoration around it. And then here, we just don't have letters at all. And again, this is something that is you see a lot. Manuscripts that just were sort of incomplete. But we know what letter should have gone there. One, we can sort of figure it out from the word, but the scribe very helpfully left a note in the margin for whoever was going to come along and put in the letter eventually. And this is really fun because someone else, who I don't think was a professional scribe, has come in and added some letters, and they're very interesting. They look all kind of Celtic to me. I don't know. But again, this is something that you see on here. We're back to normal, I guess, here. And another table that if someone would like to come and make a transcription of this and figure out the tables, that would be very cool. So then we're starting another section here in the remedies. And then we have a letter, and then we're out of the letter. I'll finish this up quickly. Priya, is there anything else that you want to say about this part of the manuscript before I move on? Oh my gosh, to the next one. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. And I believe in the original manuscript, there's the first section that has Chaucer, the Chaucer astrolabe text, and then this one comes, and then there are, I think, 4 leaves that are missing, and then the next one picks up. So so this one and the next one we'll look at were actually together in the parent, or that original manuscript. I'm just pausing here because this is cool. This looks cool. I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but I think it looks neat because again we have the astronomical notations and some kind of chart here, and and then we have some blank. We have a blank leaf here. So this is the end of this one. So let's make a quick move on. And I already showed this to you, so you've seen this, but I want to say it. These have very similar bindings, right? So I would venture that the manuscript was taken apart, and then whoever took them apart put them in these two. So I want to say just a little bit about what we know about the provenance, both of the parent manuscript and of these 2 manuscripts. So it was held in the library of the Marquesas of Bute, I think is how it's pronounced. And the parent manuscript was sold at auction in 1983. So it was whole in 1983. And then it next appears in a catalog in 1988, and by 1988 it was taken apart. And it's not clear, it doesn't say in the catalog who bought it at Sotheby's. It appears in H.P. Krause's catalog, but that doesn't mean that Krause took it apart. It just means that that's where it was in the catalog. And then from that point on, they're separate. So this was they were separated. The manuscript was disbound and taken apart pretty recently, within my lifetime. All right. Yes, please. Ah. Okay. And you might be asking yourself, why would they do that? It could be simply because they can get more money. If you break it into pieces, you can sell each piece for slightly more, and then you end up making more. Yeah. So I have just pasted the citation to that article in the chat there, and I'll also put it on YouTube, so we'll see that. Okay. So here we have the next section, which is a little, I feel like this looks quite different, so I'm just going to compare the other one here. The paper looks darker, and the I guess the writing, I don't think it's the same scribe. It looks like a different scribe to me. Yeah, so it looks, if you don't know that they're from the same manuscript, like I wouldn't necessarily guess that they were from the same manuscript because they don't look the same, although they are the same size and they have that similar binding. But here we go. All right, and what is this? This is commentary on the Ephemerides. Partial copy of a Middle English translation of a commentary on the Ephemerides, including a treatise in 9 chapters, addressing the Ephemerides, astrological signs, planets, their aspects, fixed stars, and etc. I won't read the whole record, but here we go. So this looks different. Still in English and a little less fancy, right? We don't have the initials with the decoration. I don't see any red ink in here. There is here we have a table pretty much immediately. And again, I don't know. Oh, look at the edge here. All right, Amy says it's estimated to be about 50 years earlier. So maybe, does this mean that it was originally separate and was bound together and then was disbound? I mean, is that, so this is something, even in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, people were taking apart manuscripts and then binding them together to make new manuscripts. And the fact that this is 50 years earlier makes me think that maybe the original manuscript itself was an amalgamation of different pieces. And so it could be that the bookseller was just taking them. I would be interested to see the other 2 parts and how they relate to these. The reason that I'm kind of stroking the edge of the page here is because the text has been cut off, which means that this has been trimmed, which again is something that you see pretty frequently when manuscripts are rebound. They're taken apart, and for various reasons, the person doing the rebinding might cut the edges down. And again, like whether this happened in the 1980s or earlier, maybe when the parent manuscript was put together. I do not know. You'd like to think by the 80s they wouldn't be trimming, but who knows? I see something interesting. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Oh, hold on. What I see is actually on the edge here. I don't know if you can see that. There's like lines here because and I only see this because the paper is dirty. The paper's dirty, but there are white lines here, and also there's a white line going up and down. So this has been framed, not with ink or with pencil, but with some sort of dry points. So it would not be visible unless you see it like this, because you only see it because like there's some dirt, and so it stands out. It makes me think about printed versus manuscript. So this was this manuscript, I guess if it's 50 years earlier, it would have been, if the other one was 1540, right, 1496. So this is after the printing press. And the printing press allowed you to make very clean prints without any lines. And part of the move from like manuscript to print is doing away with visible ruling lines. And so this could be a sort of reaction to that, like even though obviously it's handwritten, like it's not pretending to be print, but trying to make the ruling lines invisible is sort of interesting. In the chat, Natasha has pointed out the holes, that there are the holes here near the binding. And she says, it's interesting that these are so wonky. And then as Priya and Amy are responding, that these are from earlier printing, which again earlier sewing holes. So this was bound in some other way before it was bound here, which again is pointing, I think, because we didn't see that in 188. I think it does perhaps point to the original manuscript being combined sections from other ones and then rebound. So this could have been before even it was bound together with that. And I'm seeing there's another question. Elizabeth asks, what would be the reason for taking it apart for the person who bought it? And Lisa, as I said earlier, to make more money and resell. The Chaucer portion would be of interest to lots of buyers, I'd imagine. And I think that's a really good point, that there's that one section that's Chaucer. And of course, everybody knows Chaucer. The other section's less interesting. So if you pull the Chaucer part out, you can maybe ask more for that. All right, let's keep going. Even though it doesn't have the sort of decorated initials, I still quite like these. They're trying to do something a little bit special with those. Let me zoom out again. Oop, somebody made a mistake and it's been scratched out or covered up. Here, let's see. Keep going. Now these pages are numbered. The other section, I didn't see page numbers, but here's 2. Oh, you can't see that, sorry. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, this indicates to me that this was originally like a standalone piece. That was because those are older numbers. Those are not recent numbers that have been added. And I keep noticing these poor stabby holes down the middle. There we go. So we just have a minute left, so I'll just keep sort of paging through so we can see what else might be here. More of these fun, yeah. Mm-hmm. So here we are at the end. So this is the last page. It does have some staining there. I'm not sure that it looks like it's much more. Yeah. No, and then these are the fly leaves. So, I don't know. But yeah, that would be a good indication of, it's actually it's more soiled here and then less so there. All right, there is a note in let's see. Oh, Amy says, or maybe it's the front, and the front is darker. I think maybe your notes are, because the front here is quite messy there, and then it's less dark. So I would say from the front, I do think that this was the actual front of the manuscript at some point. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, it is 12:31, which means it's time to stop. And thanks Priya for coming along, and thanks to, you're welcome. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to have you, and thanks to everyone. So we won't be here next week. but we will be back on the 14th. Please come, because I am expecting a lot of people to be very weird, and it would be nice to see some friendly faces and friendly names for that. So if you can't, I'll see you in September. I'll miss you all, and take care.